Game 74, Toronto Maple Leafs regular season. A big win here tonight against the Anaheim Ducks, getting the Toronto Maple Leafs a couple point cushion here over the Florida Panthers for first place in the Atlantic Division. After this win tonight, we will break down what led to this win. We'll break down the efforts that we saw, top to bottom, what we liked, what we disliked. We'll break down the goaltending that we saw here tonight in response to Joseph Woll's not so great game, maybe you could say, there against the San Jose Sharks on Thursday night. All a presentation of Bet365. We'll also get into our play of the game, our grade of the game, and our best bets. You guys in the chat here, if anybody wants to call in and give your thoughts on the game, if you want to call in and let us know how you feel about this win, how you feel about the Maple Leafs getting themselves to first place in the Atlantic Division, more than happy to take some callers here on the show tonight and hear what you guys are thinking and how you guys are feeling about this one. But for the time being, let's get into what I thought about this game here tonight. The one thing I want to say right away is I'm glad the team started on time. After the disallowed goal, which I'll dig into officiating in a second, but after the disallowed goal, it certainly kind of turned back a little bit and kind of seemed to go quiet again for a little while, but the team came out ready to play right off the hop. Like, they were engaged. There was a lot of jump that you could see in their legs. Like, they looked prepared, they looked ready to go, they looked willing to be out there. It was a little bit of more of a boring game. It was a slower game. It was an ugly one here against the Ducks tonight, in one where, Anaheim has kind of been playing spoiler a little bit, where they're getting some wins, getting some points in games that maybe they shouldn't. And, it feels like maybe Anaheim's become a little bit, or shown that they're a little bit better of a team than what we possibly had originally thought about them. But, you have an opportunity as the Leafs to go into this game, get 2 points, and grab a hold of first place in the Atlantic Division. Florida loses today in regulation to the Montreal Canadiens. The Tampa Bay Lightning are now tied at 91 points each with the Florida Panthers there. If you don't win this one, you're sitting a point ahead. They've got a game in hand on you. And then you're looking at a couple of games here where you're going to play the Panthers again. You're going to play some more Eastern Conference teams. Some of these teams that are trying to play catch-up, some of these teams that are trying to chase you down, they're going to be able to close that gap a little bit more. It feels like this team has kind of squandered points over the last couple of weeks to teams that they shouldn't have, in games that they shouldn't have. And sometimes they've had a lead and they've blown it there and it's gone to overtime and they've lost the extra point where, yeah, you get one, but you don't walk away with the full two. And we look back on some of those moments and say you could have had those there. But tonight against Anaheim, you find a way to get it done, whether it's from depth contributions from your third line and Max Domi with that beautiful goal where he completely undresses Radko Gudas. If it's the late Steven Lorentz tip-in, if it's Mitch Marner on your first line who's scoring an unreal breakaway goal, like, you did find ways to get it done throughout the lineup. In the second night of a back-to-back on a longer road trip out in California, regardless of the level of competition, to be able to make sure you got the win last night, roll into Anaheim here tonight, and walk away with the full 4 points, that's pretty successful for us as Leafs fans to look at, and also take in the context of where they're at in the standings and the fact that you open up a 3-point lead here now against the Florida Panthers and against the Tampa Bay Lightning, who are chasing you down. There's no confidence for me anyway, regardless of if they play Tampa, Florida, Ottawa, Montreal. I don't care. Like, any opponent that the Leafs face, there is always a possibility that they blow it, they find a way to lose it. That's just who the Maple Leafs are. I don't think it's going to be anything that we look at and say, hey, you know what? There's this extra degree of confidence because it's the Ottawa Senators. No. But you get a little bit less travel. You get home ice if you can get first in the Atlantic. And not having to go through that grueling physical first round that it would be against either Florida or Tampa is a positive. And being able to walk away with first in the Atlantic is a positive. Opening up this lead, having a little bit of cushion against those teams, it is a comforting feeling to walk away from this weekend, that is. Want to read the chat here and see what chat is feeling. I also, while we do that, want to get into our super chats because I did see one come in there right away. Just a quick reminder to those of you guys who don't know and maybe want to get involved in it here tonight. If you want your question or comment read on the show, we do have a new super chat charity partner here on the show this season, and that would be Sick Kids. You want your question or comment read, you want to get your thoughts in on the show, you want to hear us talk about what you guys are thinking about, you want all those kinds of things done during the course of the show, well, you send in your super chats, you go to the live chat section, you click the super chat button, you send in your message via that, and I will read every single one of them that comes through. So let's start with the first one that we've got on the show here tonight, and that would be from our friend Maxentius Decimus. And I'm glad that this is where we're starting because this is a frustrating concept to walk away from in this game tonight. Huge W over the Anaheim Zebras tonight. Go Leafs go. So first of all, someone on the last show got mad because I didn't give the LA Kings credit for the way they played, or I didn't talk enough about the LA Kings in the postgame last night. So I'll give credit to the Anaheim Ducks, who I thought fought pretty hard here tonight for a team that is near the bottom of the NHL. They have shown pride, and they have pushed and fought hard all season long. So credit to the Anaheim Ducks. Now, I don't actually think that the Leafs had to beat the refs here tonight. I don't. I just have a couple of notes that I wanted to get off my chest because I was pretty frustrated with the officiating here. Let's start with the Mitch Marner high stick in the first period. So, I think Matthews' high stick last night, where he knocked the puck down, was a high stick. I for sure think that was a high stick, and that should not have counted. Now, that one counts. They review it a billion times. It counts. Mitch Marner here tonight makes a very, very similar play on the puck. Potentially actually even lower or less questionable than what Austin Matthews was last night. And it is ruled a high stick. In the span of 24 hours, you went from good goal to no goal on the exact same call. That was the start of like, okay, yeah, I don't think that last night should have been a goal. I thought last night was a high stick. That one by Marner today, especially after what we saw 24 hours ago, I was like, this one's gonna be okay. You're gonna get away with this one. It's not gonna be a high stick. It's gonna be a good goal. It doesn't happen. Now, I would have been fine if they called both of them no goal. If they called last night a high stick and then they called it a high stick here tonight, I would have been fine with that. But to just see it in 24 hours where it was basically the exact same thing was shocking. Like, I could not believe that we go from one to the next where it's just like, oh, well, we saw it last night. Last night was a good goal. This one will be. Nope. I get it's different officials on a nightly basis, but to me, it feels like there should be like some type of standard that's set across the league that's adhered to by the officiating crew. And then if you're going to want to look at that one last night and then you want to look at this one here tonight and say, okay, well, they went to Toronto, they went to the video review, yada, yada, yada. Shouldn't there be some consistency in Toronto of the guys who are calling it there? Because, okay, sure, the refs see it differently in real time. And then you get to the officiating room, you get to the guys in the video room, and they're taking a look at it, and then they're calling it something differently from one night to the next. That was shocking. Again, I would have been okay with both of them being no goal and both of them being high sticks, but to go from last night fine to tonight no goal on a stick knockdown that I thought was easier to call a goal than what you saw last night, I mean, that's where I start to kind of get frustrated with consistency. Now, let me talk about the second thing with the officials here tonight, because this one is an egregious bullshit call and bullshit way of officiating the game. To call Matthew Nyes as the only guy, the standalone penalty that you take out of that scrum is fucking bullshit. That's a terrible call. That's a terrible way to officiate the game. If they're trying to do that because they're trying to, manage the game and make sure it doesn't get out of hand or send a message to a team that you can't do that, then you cannot be running those guys out there again, or there needs to be a mandate coming down from the league about how you want these things officiated, because that was horseshit. That's a terrible call. Matthew Nyes makes a clean hit on Oliver Shillington that has no penalty being called, does not deserve a response from anybody on Anaheim. He's going to the bench. He's a foot inside the door going to the bench to make a change, and as he's doing so, he gets jumped by a couple of players on Anaheim. Now, sure, that's no problem that they jump in there and they try to attack him. Okay, whatever. You want to call that, or you want them to do that and say that, that's okay. I got no problem with those guys jumping in, but they jump in to go at him. He defends himself from the guys jumping in at him, takes the guy who grabs him and throws him against the boards because the guy jumps at him after a clean hit, by the way. A clean hit by Matthew Nyes. He gets jumped in by two Anaheim players, grabs the one guy. He's bigger than him and he's stronger than him, so he gets the only penalty. If this is a way of managing the game and making sure that, you can't do that, so we're going to send a message here, the NHL needs to go take a look at the officiating from top to bottom and redetermine how they would like to have this thing officiated. If managing the game is something you would like to do, make it public that that's what's going on. But you can't have guys getting fired from their jobs for talking openly about managing the game and then have some bullshit like that take place, take only Matthew Nyes, and then try to tell people that maybe that's not what's going on. That's a fucking horseshit call in an important time of the game there when that thing is tight, and you're going to send a guy to the box as the only one out of that fucking scrum? Horseshit call. Like, shockingly bad call out of that one. And that one, a lot of times I'll give the referees benefit of the doubt. It's real time. It's full speed. They do a pretty good job of calling things and not calling things. That's fine. There are often times where they just miss stuff. It's in full speed. That's okay. That's a bullshit penalty call to only get one of them. You either got to call both or you got to call neither. That's fucking unbelievable for those guys to walk away from a scrum in which you watch the guy get jumped after and call it only on him. He's a foot inside, like a literal foot, inside the door to go for a change after making that hit. A guy comes to grab him and he's the only one going to the box. Bullshit penalty call. Bullshit officiating on that one. Unbelievable. Hutch there, agree. Offsetting, worst case scenario, agree. A bunch of people in the chat, again, that is fully offsetting. You just call offsetting. Like, okay, sure, take both. To call only Matthew Nyes is an egregious error by the officials. Second one I'll do on this one because this is in defense of Leafs fans. Because I know Leafs fans watch that thing and were pretty pissed off having that happen. And honestly, the Leafs did a good job of mitigating disaster there in a moment that could have gone pretty poorly for them. And I'm pretty sure myself, those of you in the chat, Berube, OEL, everybody's heads would have popped off. Oliver Ekman-Larsson does a great job protecting the puck going tight around the net. It's what you're taught when you're a kid. Is you're skating around the net, either side, you get tight to the net, it cuts off the lane, the guy has to go to the outside, you get that traction, that inside track, and you're able to kind of protect the puck, protect off from defenders. He's coming around. Vetrano goes to make a play on him, fair, but he gets inside. We saw William Nylander get called for the exact same thing effectively earlier on in the game. No problem with William Nylander getting called. But then as he's coming around the net, Vetrano gets in on him, hooks him. OEL basically goes up off balance, doesn't make a clean play on the puck, and then it ends up leading to a Leafs icing. No penalty call. In what fucking world? Like, if you're just deciding to put whistles away, do it the whole game. How are we getting that call earlier in the game? Like, if the Nylander one gets let go and then the Vetrano one happens, I've got no gripe here tonight. I've got no issue. But you call the Nylander one, and then you don't call the Vetrano one, which is just unbelievably glaringly obvious right in front of your face. That was a fucking unreal missed call after some of the other shit that we already saw. I know there's some other Leaf shows that don't want to talk about refs. That's fine. They can do that. For the most part, I think refs are pretty good. This was a pretty poorly officiated game all the way around. I mean, this is just frustrating ones where it's like, you shouldn't notice the refs. No matter who you are, no matter what side of the game you're on. And I feel like both sides could probably have a gripe here tonight with some shit that they saw. I got, like, there's going to be Anaheim people who are looking, going, how was that missed? How was that missed? Or why was that a call? Whatever. There was some just stupidly obvious shit that doesn't get called. And then, like, the Nylander one is, that one's not. This is a tough night for the referees. This is a tough night for the officials in general. And just the consistency of this kind of stuff is infuriating, honestly. I had to get that out there. Max, thank you for the super chat. Let's get to some other stuff from the game here tonight and some other super chats that we've got. Let's start with these two. What's with the censoring, Philly? And then says, never had a problem calling the Habs shit fuck before. I say they did this as a favor and fucking censored. I don't think I was being censored there. I don't know. I don't think I was holding back on anything to open up the show here tonight. You know, we're talking about who they could potentially match up with in the first round. It's Ottawa or Florida or Tampa. Like, those are the ways to go about it. I think Ottawa would give you a run for your money in the first round. Like, it's not an easy series in any of these. We saw that in the past. Columbus, Montreal. You get some quote-unquote easy series, and it's not. Next super chat. So Sangnam, I agree with this super chat here, and I'm sure a lot of the chat does as well. And we'll continue to move off the refs, but I mean, there's the super chat here, so I want to make the point. So Sangnam says, it makes sense to penalize one if players are at each other's throats at the end of every play, but this game wasn't nasty. Zero need for ref to manage it. I agree with that. You know, like, that's something they will set a precedent with in a game, especially earlier on, first period, second period, and they'll look at it and be like, okay, you guys are getting after this thing. We can tell this thing is chippy. There's rivalry built up. Even if there's a past game that something happened that led to this game, to the game here tonight, where you can see there's going to be some, you know, some hostility that's taking place. And then they're like, okay, we'll call the one. We'll leave it after that. And then you guys are going to know if you're going to fuck around and do some shit like this, you're going to end up going to the box. Someone will, and you're going to get penalized. So then they call that. Sure, that makes sense, because I get it. They're like sending a message and trying to make sure it doesn't get out of hand. That tonight on the Nyes thing was just a stupid fucking call, honestly. Another super chat. Dan Freeman. Again, Dan, thank you. Dan says, Habs did us a favor this morning. Game started at 11 a.m. here. I'm guessing Dan is on West Coast time. They're going back to Montreal to do it again. I'm not worried about Tampa. We can be up 5 points on Florida by Thursday. Well, maybe. I mean, yes, the Panthers play the Montreal Canadiens on Tuesday in Montreal. But then the Leafs play Florida on Wednesday. So they'll have the back-to-back. They'll be coming in on the second night. Depends on what happens on Tuesday. The Leafs don't play until Wednesday, but depends on what happens on Tuesday. You have potential here for Wednesday night's game to mean a heck of a lot more than it has in, the Leafs' last 10 games in the last few years. How often have we gone into the last 10, 15 and being like, we know who we're playing? Boston runs away, Florida runs away, Tampa runs away, like whatever it might be, you know who the opponent's going to be. This is one of the first times that you've gone into the playoffs in a race. Not a race for a spot, but a race for positioning, a race for standings. This is a different atmosphere, environment, competitiveness than you've experienced in years past as you approach the NHL playoffs this year. And it's exciting. It is exciting, and you hope the team takes it as seriously as Leafs fans do. Like, you play Florida twice here. This Wednesday, next Tuesday, and then you play the Tampa Bay Lightning the very next night. Wednesday, April 2nd, Florida. Saturday, April 5th, a contending playoff team, Columbus. I mean, contending, they're pushing for it. Tuesday, April 8th, Florida. Wednesday, April 9th, Tampa. April 12th, Montreal. Like, you're going to be playing some teams who are going to be playing a playoff style of game, who are fighting for every last spot. It's exciting. And you hope the team can rise to the occasion. Another super chat. KPG, thank you for the super chat here, KPG. Tampa is destroying everyone. Florida will be healthy soon. It's imperative Leafs get first. Yeah, you'd much rather have first. The other thing is that you may lose anyways in the first round. It's entirely possible. You would rather be able to go into the first round knowing that you had your opportunity, you took first in the Atlantic, you got the favorable matchup there in the Ottawa Senators, and not lose to Tampa or Florida and walk away and go, oh man, it would have been so much better to have Ottawa. Right? Like, you just don't want to have that being the case walking out of a first round loss if that does end up happening. You lose to Tampa in the first round and you're like, fuck, wow, it would have been such an easier path if you had Ottawa. It's not like it's like an easy path, but you don't want to look at it on the other side of things. You play Ottawa, you lose, there's zero excuses. We cannot look at this and be like, wow, we got sewered with such a tough road to the cup because of who we had to play. You got the one spot. You played the wild card. Like, if those things happen, there's no excuses. You have to come up with the win. You'd much rather have that and have home ice advantage. I'm going to put a poll in the chat here. Do the Leafs need to finish first in the Atlantic? Yes, they need to. What else should we put in here? Luxury, but not necessary. And I'll put the final option as no, would rather Tampa or Florida. There you go. There's the three options. I want to see what you guys are at, where you guys are at with this poll that got put up there in the chat. I'm also going to fire in a call-in link into the chat here. If anybody wants to call in, give your thoughts for like 5 minutes. I'm happy to hear from you guys. Call into the show. The link is pinned at the top of the live chat there. In the meantime, let's get to some of the segments we have here on the show tonight. Before we do that, actually, quickly, we did hit 50 likes on the stream. I saw comments from people being like, don't you think the Salts thing has run its course? I think a lot of the people on the show like the Salts, want the Salts. It's just something I've always had, and I feel like people would be more mad if I got rid of it than the fact that I keep doing it. I don't know. You guys tell me if I'm wrong, but here's the Smelling Salts for hitting 50. If we hit 100 here, we'll do them again. Thank you for liking, for subscribing. Leafs Nation After Dark right here, Leafs Nation 401, live on the Leafs Nation YouTube channel, following every Maple Leafs game, regular season and playoffs. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you guys for liking. Let's keep it going. There you go. Oh. There you go. There's the smiling salts for everyone. Keep liking the stream. Let's get it to 100. Okay, let's go to our first segment of the show here tonight. I want to recap what happened with our best bet. We've been on a heater here lately on the show. We have been up big here. We're taking some fun, longer shots here as the season winds down. Take some swings, see if we can get ourselves into the playoffs. Up money, positive, winning. But tonight, we fall short. We did have some chances. We did have a pretty good chance, actually, especially in the third period, but it doesn't happen. Breaking news coming in from Bet365. Where every nail-biting overtime win is a barn burner, every face-off, hat trick, power play, shot on goal, penalty shot, and every suspenseful minute in between is amazing. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365, an official partner of the NHL. Download the Bet365 app and use the code NATION, N-A-T-I-O-N. That's code NATION, all caps, N-A-T-I-O-N. To get in on the game. Must be 19 or older. Ontario only. Please play responsibly. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem, visit connectsontario.ca. So, we lose this one here tonight. I apologize for the loss, but we do end up with a smaller loss, at least. Like it's not one that I feel like we can be too upset about. We have got ourselves up to $771 of profit. That would be 7.7 units on the season if you've been following along with bankroll management. Tonight's best bet was Scott Laughton anytime goal. I just felt like that third line was starting to get something going. Calle Jarnkrok looked good the last game. I just was waiting for them to get like some cohesion. I didn't think fully that, and people had some real pushback on it, but I didn't really think that Calle Jarnkrok was like the perfect complement to Laughton and Domi. I wanted to see how that would build. I kind of felt like maybe like a Max Pacioretty or a Bobby McMann fits better for what that potential identity is of the third line. You know, in the perfect worlds, you probably have Pacioretty come back. You know what? Honestly, at this point, I don't think he's taking McMann out. So I would say that you probably have McMann up there on the second line. You put Pacioretty onto the third line. You bump Pontus Holmberg out of the lineup, and you put Calle Jarnkrok as your fourth line right winger. Like, that's probably how I would shape this out. But the reality is that you go with Calle Jarnkrok again. If those guys could build some chemistry, I think you were going to get some decent chances. Scott Laughton has one primo chance there for us, and it comes with a pass from Calle Jarnkrok, actually. Driving the net, getting to the front of the net with his stick on the ice. Calle Jarnkrok kind of draws the defender across, makes a last-minute pass. He just puts that thing just too far in front of Scott Laughton. Honestly, if that was 4 or 5 inches a little bit back and not as far ahead, I think Scott Laughton gets that one in a little bit better of a position. He's not having to reach as much to make that poke. I don't think Dostal is able to challenge it as much and get himself involved in it, and I think that Scott Laughton scores the goal. So, you know, I mean, we were close only counts in horseshoes and hand grenades, unfortunately, but I thought that was going to be a good shot at a Scott Laughton goal. Plus 650 there. It's too bad. I wanted to win. It doesn't happen. I see here Austin Matthews' hairline. Zack, when are you going to realize Laughton sucks? Well, I don't think I'm going to realize that because I don't think he does. I'm sorry, but I don't think he does. All right, let's go. More super chats here. So saying, with 2 games versus Florida and 1 versus Tampa, we will find out if our general consensus about this team is right or wrong. They need to send a message to those rivals. Yeah, I mean, we will find some stuff out about them in those games. I don't disagree with that aspect. What I would push back on is what they do in the regular season here may not be what ends up happening in the playoffs. Like, just because they do it in that game, just because they do it in one of or two of the games against Florida, or they do it against Tampa, does not mean that it'll happen in the playoffs. Like, unfortunately, we have to come to that realization as Leafs fans watching this group and watching these guys. It's reality. I mean, they may bring it. They may be unbelievable. But then they don't do it in the playoffs. It's just who this group is. Again, another comment there about Lawton. It's a brutal pickup. If you could reverse the trade, you would. I don't think so. And I think we all still talked about Scott Lawton, how great he would be. We listen to every single person, reporter, player, former teammate, coach, whatever, talk about Lawton and how he played in Philadelphia, the impact he makes in the room, how good he is, and just kind of the energy that he's able to bring in the playoff style of hockey. I think that Scott Lawton is going to work out, and I think he's looked a lot better lately. We have more Super Chats. So Segment says, True Alpha would do meth at 100 likes. Well, I guess I won't be True Alpha then, because I'm not going to be doing meth. Ever. Let alone on the stream. Another Super Chat here. Dan Freeman. Last two Leafs games are back-to-back Tampa and Florida. No, they have more games after that, Dan. They play Montreal, Carolina, Buffalo, and Detroit after that. So, I mean, they finish and play against Tampa on the 9th, and then 8 days later they play their last game. So they play 4 games in 8 days, which is pretty ridiculous to head into the playoffs, but that's the hand everyone in the NHL has dealt with this season. More Super Chats. Here you go. And to those watching right now, if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel. Leaf Station 401 right here on YouTube. Hit that like button. Let us know your thoughts on tonight's show in the chat there. I want to see what you guys are thinking, feeling in the live. I also want to get to 100 here tonight. KPG says Maxentius and I are heading to Buffalo to see the Leafs April 15th. Who is down to join? Gonna be a sick finish to first. Mike Fami replies, you buy my ticket and give me a lift there, I'm down. Well, fair enough. I mean, yeah, honestly, that is one thing that's been kind of cool about this chat, is that some of the people in here have got to meet each other. Some of the people in here have become friends, maybe talk regularly, hang out. KPG's heading down there. Ask me, obviously. Cannot do that. Cannot be going down to Buffalo. Who would be doing the post-game show if I went down to Buffalo? So, I'm here, and I will be here. But for those of you guys who are going to Buffalo, maybe you got to hit up Maxentius. Maybe you got to hit up KPG. Let them know. Or if you have interest in going down there, send them a note. Find a way to get in contact with them. And then we can get a Leafs Nation meetup down in Buffalo. If we pack that barn with Leafs fans, it would be pretty sick. I mean, it happens regularly anyways. I think Sabres fans are pretty pissed off with their current situation. So, yeah, it would be nice to pack that barn. We do have another Super Chat. Well, here's something I've never seen before. And I mean, I guess at this point, this is the desperation level that Leafs fans are digging into. Preparing for another playoff series. You know, we're like a couple weeks away here all of a sudden, and Leafs fans are big braining themselves into thinking how we can beat anybody and how we can find ourselves a way to get out of this thing and out of the first round at bare minimum. Like, they're willing to do anything and everything. So Sangnam in the chat here says, Leafs should outsmart whoever they play in the first round. by running 2 players as forward pairs and 3 players as defense trios. I would say we probably don't need to get that ridiculous. I don't think that we need to be doing like big brain stuff like that. I actually would prefer this postseason be one where it's not like what we've dealt with the mind games to the extent that we have in years past, where like you don't know where a guy is. Both goalies are in the starting net. Neither goalie's in the starting net. You're talking about who is it playing and who potentially playing, and then cryptic messaging about who's injured and how guys are feeling and all this shit. I don't want to see that this year in the postseason. I appreciate Craig Berube being direct to the point. I like this. I don't like this. Here's who looks good. Here's who doesn't look good. Here's who's feeling good. This is what we're looking and expecting for the roster, for the lineups, all that kind of stuff. I appreciate why they play the mind games, especially in the playoffs. I don't think we need to do it the way that we have in years past, where it's like we can't get any information, we can't get any answers. Like, it's just distracting. And I don't think it makes as much of an effect or an impact on the opposing team as it's like being made out to be in the past few years, where we just can get no answers at all. I don't want to see that. I don't need the big brain stuff. Give me straightforward answers. Let's get to the point. Let's get in. Let's get out. Let's win hockey games. That's what I care about. Austin Matthews hairline. Zack, how much would someone have to donate to the sick kids for a fat bong rip? Well, that would go above me. That would be not my decision. That would end up being my employer's decisions, and I can't imagine they would be overly interested in me doing that on camera. That being said, if they get back and say that they want that done, then that's a discussion that we will have. For the time being, I don't know. It's not up to me. I'm not going to be the one throwing out numbers here. They can come up and give me their own thoughts. Nathan McLean, better question. Who isn't ripping the bong? I saw Nathan was going off about having bong rips and Cheerios in the chat. That doesn't seem like a bad way to spend a Sunday night. Leafs win last night. Maybe you went out, ordered a pizza when you got home. You got some leftovers. Guy comes home, he's hitting Beano's on the couch, watching the Ducks play. The Leafs win, finish some cold pizza. Maybe dig into the cupboard, you find some Oreos in there. Seems like a pretty good way to spend a Domino's kind of night. There you go. All right. No free ads. All right. Stone cold sober right now, says 6 1/3. Same, brother. Other than 3 coffees that I've juiced into myself here right now. And a gelato. I'm not going to lie. The gelato mid-game there, it's just down the street. First period ends. Wheel down. Get a quick gelato. Back before the second period. Get the feet moving. Get some fresh air. Last time you're out of the house by the end of the night. It's a good way to good Sunday night. HK Chinese Canadian. Worst feeling, Zack, having a good drink and good food just to see the Leafs lose in the playoffs. What the fuck? There was no need. No need. No need to bring that last line up. Like, I cannot stress enough how much there was no need to bring that last line up. Good drink, good food, just to see the Leafs lose in the playoffs. What the fuck? KPG, when is the next watch-along at Greta? Good question. We got to figure that out. Hopefully soon. let's keep hitting more likes here on the show. I want you guys to keep liking. Let's get it to 100 here tonight. Feels like something we could very easily do. Also, if you guys are in the chat, you want your question or your comment read, you want your thoughts brought up on the show, fire in those super chats. We'll get to some more. We have raised almost $100 here tonight, and I do see another one that has come in. So Sagnum, oh yeah, we just go from bongs, Oreos, pizza discussion to the serious note here, as So Sagnum says. On a serious note, I was expecting the Leafs at this point to have a better defined identity and a more visible, consistent work ethic. Thoughts? So I think it was Josh DiSavino earlier in the chat who asked this as well, and wanted to get my thoughts on if I think the Leafs have played or are playing a Berube style of hockey, if I think this is a Berube style team. I feel like it's most of the way there. I feel like we've seen a structure built by Tree Living with the defense. I feel like we've seen that built into the bottom six here a little bit. And like the way that this thing has been constructed, it seems like we've got ourselves with this group closer towards the Craig Berube style. Earlier in the season, to answer the question, I think that they were playing very much a Berube style. And I think that was why a lot of people were getting frustrating with like a lack of goal scoring and stuff. And they were going kind of on polar opposites, right? Where, they were playing a good defensive style of hockey, which is also one thing that I think gets lost in this is Sheldon Keefe did have a good defensive style and system set in place here. The problem was that they weren't playing playoff style of hockey. Like, they were pretty good at defense, but like, it's the cliche, right? Do you play a heavy, hard game? Were you very good on the forecheck? Were you going north-south? Not so much. Berube, I think, wants that instilled. That's what he wants to be a major part, and I think that's what helps you win in the playoffs. If people remember 2 years ago, that was one of the most eye-opening playoff series I think we've seen, because you saw it to an extent with Tampa. You saw it to an extent with Boston in those years. The one that was shocking to me, and I think part of it is because the Bruins and the Lightning could just figure out how to play that game with the Leafs and just kind of outmatch them at some of the spots. Florida, when you finally got through the Tampa series, and you won that one, and you advanced to the second round, and you played Florida, that was eye-opening. How hard and heavy they were on the forecheck. How every single time they crossed center, it was like the puck was going down in the corner and they were abusing you. They were on you within seconds. You had no time to react, to think. You were feeling physical punishment every single time the puck went into your corner. I think that's the style that Berube wants played here. He wants instilled. He wants them to buy into. So I think a lot of the lineup has that. I think a lot of the lineup is capable of doing it. The one thing that's going to answer the question for me more than anything when the playoffs come is whether or not 34-16 are going to be able to buy into it. Are they going to be able to do it? Is Nylander going to be able to do it? Is Tavares going to be able to do it? If they can, and those guys are buying into that game, and those guys are leading the charge on the physicality, on the offensive zone pressure, then I think we will really see a playoff-style team under Craig Berube. I think we will see the Craig Berube hockey amongst this lineup. So do I see it right now? Do I see a full identity? No, I think there's a little bit of confusion, which is frustrating. 9 games out here now, or 8 games out. But I think that we've seen it in spurts this year. I think that we've seen it kind of poke its head through. It's just not stayed the entire time. Like, it's gone in and out. They've changed things up here over week stretches, that kind of stuff. And if they can keep it consistent and they can play it throughout an entire series, then yeah, it'll be a more positive outlook from myself. But that's part of why I've had some frustrations, was just it feels like they've gone in and out. What do we got here? What else are people saying in the chat? Trying to read what else is going on. 46 minutes into the show here tonight. I appreciate everyone who's watching, who's liked. We do have a caller on the line here, so as I set up this caller quickly and we get their thoughts, we will also get to some of our closing segments after this as well. But let's see if we've got caller on the line. Who are we speaking to here? How's it going? And who's on the line?
Hey, how's it going, man?
How's it going? Sorry, I missed the beginning. Max, what's up? I thought that was you. I just missed the first part. I don't know what, my audio was not on you there, so I think we're good now.
Yeah, no worries. I
What's up,
just
Max?
figured I'd call in because AK's watching. He always asks me to call in. And then I'm like, oh, I'm not in the mood to call in tonight. And I'm like, so I figured I'd do it tonight. How you doing?
Not bad. I think this is look, the game itself was boring. The game itself was kind of I don't want to say sloppy, but like, I don't know, it was the third game in 4 nights. It's the California road trip that you're closing out on. It's the second night of a back-to-back. It's a weird one, too, because you played at 7 yesterday, 7 Eastern time, 4 p.m. local, and then tonight you play at 5 p.m. local, 8 p.m. Eastern time, and Thursday night you played at 10:30 p.m. Eastern. So as you go through this road trip, you're going like this on the time zones and everything. But you found a way to win, and you did so on a big day where Montreal gets a regulation win against Florida. So those are all positives, Max. Like, that's nice to get this win. Am I thrilled with the way they played? No, but some of the stuff tonight was, encouraging. Wall looked good again here tonight. I thought he bounced back and played pretty well. Matthews, Marner, Nyes, that line came out buzzing to start tonight's game. All positive signs. I don't know. I'm feeling pretty good tonight, Max.
Yeah, I felt really chill this evening, and then I was sitting there on my phone half the time, not gonna lie, because it was pretty boring, especially the first period was like a drag. After the callback, there's like, okay, nothing's gonna happen this period, but they stuck with it. They played their game. Wall was pretty good. We got depth scoring. We got the W. And we're back in first place, and we're up 3 points right now on them. So, I mean, it's a pretty good night, so I can't complain.
Yeah, I mean, opening that gap up in the Atlantic, getting hold of first place here now, it's going to be in your hands, right? You're going to play Florida twice. You're going to play Tampa. These are massive games. You're also going to play playoff teams or teams that are battling to get into the playoffs as you close things down. Let me ask you some of the stuff that I see going on in the chat and some of the bigger themes in the chat here tonight, Max, because I want to know if it's just me, if it's some of these people who are specifically saying stuff, and give you a chance to kind of air out your opinion on the show tonight. But let's start with this one, because we just talked about the opportunity to win the Atlantic. Are you putting a lot of stock into that? Do you think it's that important? Because right now the poll in the chat is 68% yes, they need to, 31% luxury but not necessary, 2% no, I would rather play Tampa or Florida.
I think that is absolutely 100% necessary. One, because the Leafs have never won the division like in the history of the team, period. Right. 2, we've never lost to the Ottawa Senators in a playoff series. Yeah. 3, I want to see a Battle of Florida in the first round, because it means at least it's going to be entertaining, and one of them is guaranteed to go out. So for all those reasons, this is the most important thing for us to do, is to get first place. And that's why I'm so happy tonight that we got the 2 points. We got 1 point at least against San Jose. I know, cringe. And we beat the Kings at home, which they don't lose at home very often. So it's been a pretty good road trip. I'm pretty happy.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I do think it's important. I think the other thing, and I kind of touched on that, but like, it gives you no excuse. I want them to win the Stanley Cup. I want them to go as far as possible or be in the cup final and at least taste it and say that we got there and have that experience and have that battle and like finally see some of these things that we've been asking for come to fruition. Max, the other side of it, as Alberga has kind of outlined, and I do agree with them to an extent here, is like if you finish first and you lose in that series, there's no excuses, right? It's just like it's the ultimate pressure on situation in like a good way. You lose that, you had no excuses. I think you get some definitive answers about who these guys are, what this group is. If you go in there and you play Florida or Tampa, we all walk away, and there's part of us that goes, damn, another tough hand to be dealt having to play one of those two Florida teams in the first round. And I think that that's kind of a little bit of a cop-out. So put it to the test. Balls to the wall. Let's see what you've got. Play against the Ottawa Senators. Like, let's see. Take first.
That's what I mean. Like, with the whole Ottawa Senators thing, it's a win-win for the fans. Sure, you said the pressure is on for the players, but it's a win-win for the fans of the team. Is because, like, we're either going to progress through the first round or we can tell Marta to get the fuck out of town. Oh, sorry, I shouldn't swear.
You're allowed to swear. Yeah, I do it plenty enough.
But you know what I mean? Like, if they can't beat Ottawa with all this talent and Marner's coming back asking $50 million, then the team can be like, you're not worth that money. Get out of here. Like, we don't want you anymore. We need to retool the team a little bit, and we have a definitive answer. If we lose to Florida or Vasilevsky, you know what I mean? Like, it creates this more muddied water where we don't really know where we're standing. But if you lose to Ottawa, you know that we're not even close to it, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, let's go to the next one here because Nathan McLean has asked this a couple of times in the chat, and I wasn't ignoring it. I was just trying to kind of wade my way through this game and talk about some of the important stuff that happened, excuse me, and give my thoughts on it as it came up here naturally, and especially with the super chats being fired and some other stuff came up before. But, I mean, looking at this game tonight and the result that you get, you beat Anaheim, but they generated some decent chances. I mean, I was looking at the deserve to win a meter here tonight. I think that Anaheim actually ended up generating a lot. There was plenty of opportunities that they had, some good opportunities there as well. I thought that they were it was a hard fought game. I thought that they showed up, like all those kinds of things. And looking at the deserve to win a meter here tonight, it's the Anaheim Ducks who lead the deserve to win a meter, Max. 67.1% deserve to win a meter, 33% deserve to win on moneypuck.com in this one for the Maple Leafs. 33% that is for the Maple Leafs. Joseph Woll had to face some difficult tasks, some tough shots, some tough chances. The Ducks generated 3.34 expected goals, and Joseph Woll managed to shut the door here. 3-2 win over the Ducks that sees 31 shots by Anaheim as well, 23 for the Leafs. I want to know two things. One, what did you make of Joseph Woll's game here tonight, Max? And two, who is your game one starter?
Okay, before we get to that, real quick, I just wanted to say that deserve-o-meter, Mario Kart is happy, first off. And secondly,
yes, hopefully,
all those power plays, and we had to beat the Anaheim Zegras tonight. I'm not one to, like, criticize the refs and blame the refs, but, like, that was terrible officiating. They had so many power plays that shouldn't have been power plays, and we should have had more. So deserve-o-meter kind of goes out the window tonight. Now, for Woll, I think that there was the one goal where he's kind of shaky, but other than that, he locked it down. He was good. I still think that there's certain moments where he's leaning off the post, and I'm kind of worried, and I feel a little bit of worry when Woll is in the net, and that leads to the next thing where I think game one, I'm definitely putting Stolarz in first. He's a little bit older. He's a little bit more mature. He has better puck handling behind the net. Yeah. He doesn't seem to get flustered so easily. If Stolarz has some bad games or something, you could throw Woll in there and it'll be confidently a good goalie. But game one, game two, I'm trusting to Stolarz, hands down.
I think I'm with you on this one. I agree with what Vic had said, honestly. Part of it is I think that Joseph Woll's ceiling is higher, but I think his floor is lower. Like Stolarz fits into like this range, whereas Wall could fit into that range, right? Where the gap can increase a little bit more. Where
Oh,
maybe Joseph Wall steals you a game, whereas or steals you a couple of games and has an unbelievable night where it's just out of his mind. And Stolarz maybe doesn't have it quite to that extent, but he could still steal you a game. I think that his bottoming out, at least this season, has not been quite the same as what we've seen from Joseph Wall, where he potentially scores on himself by shooting it off of an opposing player's skate, right? And I don't think he does that every game, and he has shown us that in playoffs past he could dial in, but I think I'm with you on that with Stolarz. And look, the other thing here that I just want to throw out to people, like, this is one of the more frustrating things that I always think about is, oh, this coach hasn't won the Stanley Cup. Like, I can't believe we're having a guy here who hasn't won the Stanley Cup. Well, you know that until they win the Stanley Cup, they've never won one. Like, oh, this goalie's never done it in the playoffs before. Well, until they do it in the playoffs, they haven't done it before. You know what I'm getting at here,
Binnington.
Max?
How about Binnington?
Yep. Like Marc-Andre Fleury the first time he went through it. Like,
I just want to say about Wall is that I love Wall, and he has definitely a higher ceiling. But with the shakiness right now, we're talking about right now. It could be like, God forbid we get to the second round or third round. Wall comes in, he picks up the ship, and he's the top goalie. But right now, Stolarz looks locked in, dialed. He knows that this is his chance too. He's been sitting behind Bobrovsky for how many years, waiting for his opportunity.
yeah.
Like, the man knows what's at stake too. It's not like it's just like Wall's opportunity. It's also Stolarz's opportunity. And I think that we in Leafs Nation should feel so blessed that we have two talented goaltenders who both have motivation and an opportunity to prove themselves. That's like hasn't happened in my lifetime.
Yep. I think that's completely fair. And honestly, you've got two hungry goaltenders there, so I think either way, it's probably a good spot to be in. I was trying to see if I could find any post-game quotes there for us, Max. I didn't see anything there, but do you have any final thoughts here tonight before we get you out of here? Or do you want to be a part of one of the grade of the game or the play of the games?
Sure, if you want me to. I had one comment for someone who I talk to all the time in the chat, Fazilla Moose.
Okay.
He was scared about having to go against the Senators because of Allmark, and I'm like, bro, if you're scared of Allmark, just wait until you face Bobrovsky or Vasilevsky. You know what I mean? Like, Allmark is the worst out of those three goalies, hands down. So don't worry.
Yeah, I mean, it's obviously just very dependent on anybody could get hot at any given time. You run into some guy like that. Yeah, I who knows, like that's a ridiculous way to say or thing to say, but who knows? Okay, Max, I'll do this one last thing with you here before I get you out, and then I'll get to some super chats. I'll get to some of our other stuff before we can end the show tonight. Let's go to our play of the game. Okay, play of the game, Max. I'll let you start it off. What's your play of the game tonight?
Got to be that Domi goal. He's playing with confidence, you know what I mean? And he's playing with grit. He's driving the net, and that's exactly what we want him to do in the playoffs.
Yep. The other thing about that one, and again, like Scott Lawton still continues to get shit here in the chat, but Scott Lawton on that play, him and Calle Jarnkrok driving down right to the net. Like making a good decision there, being aware of where you have to be, what you have to be doing on the ice to help your guys and like knowing your role, filling your lane. Scott Lawton picks that pass off in the defensive zone to break up the cycle along the wall. It was a defenseman from Anaheim who tried to put it down. He grabs that thing, hits Jarnkrok in transition up in the middle, and then the two of them take off. Jarnkrok dishes across to Domi, and then they drive right down through the middle. Domi's able to undress Gudis as he comes across and then goes in and makes a disgusting play that ends up scoring. Like, that play was nasty. It was a great finish. It's good recognition by Lawton and Jarnkrok. All the way around, start to finish, that was a great play. I'm going to throw out some other ones here. You tell me if you agree or disagree. Unfortunately, here tonight, it's going to seem like cop-outs because it's just goals. But the Marner goal was awesome. He makes a great play in the defensive zone that blocks it with his stick and goes up the ice. Actually has to win a stick battle first against the Ducks defenseman, establish body position, has a fake shot that gets Dostal, however you want to say it, Dostal completely freeze, right? He comes out to challenge. Marner does the fake shot. As soon as he does that, he's set. He's frozen, and then he's cooked. Marner continues skating, doesn't panic with it, goes out to the outside, and is able to basically put it into an empty net. That play also started, Max, with a Simone Benoit unreal breakup on a 3-on-1 effectively with OEL as the back checker after OEL had got caught up in the neutral zone. And I thought Simone Benoit looked a lot better tonight, especially after what ended up happening with him last night on that one goal that's scored by Laferriere, where he looked like he was,
he got beat. It happened.
Yeah.
That's one thing I want to say about
great play.
One thing I want to say about Benoit is that the Leafs fans are so used to having such a bad blue line that we're scrambling to look for somebody to criticize. And the D-men are going to get beat. You know what I mean? And Benoit isn't a top 2 defenseman. He has looked a little bit shaky, but tonight he looked very good. And I think that he will be perfect in the playoffs. I think he is the guy to be our number 6.
Yeah. I think that's fair as well. I mean, honestly, we have had such I don't know if scapegoats is the word, but these players here who have been scapegoats is not the word, because scapegoats usually assigned to a guy who doesn't deserve the criticism, takes it anyways. I would argue that guys like Marinson and Hall and Zaitsev and Ozhiganov, they've been deserving of the criticism. To finally look at 1 through 5, outside of Morgan Riley, who's gotten some deserved criticism this year, but look at those guys and say who they are, and then look at Simone Benoit as he's the guy that you have who I personally would take 100 times out of 100 over Justin Hall, over Martin Marinson, and play him in that role. We're blessed here with this defensive group that we have right now. The other one that I want to shout out was the Steven Lorentz goal to win the game. Unreal tip, unreal hand-eye. It comes off of a good shift by the fourth line that they kind of hem Anaheim in their zone. The cycle game looked good. The one thing, too, that they were doing, which was awesome, and it was happening a lot tonight by the Leafs, was their ability to get down low, go and move the puck, not their feet, the puck, from low to high quickly and make Anaheim stretch out, right? You move the puck from the corners, you're going to have to spread out forwards to get out there to the point quickly. Maybe the defense don't go up as quickly, or it shifts the entire box up or the entire 5 up the ice. It opens things up. The other thing that they were able to do was go up high, across quickly, and then back down. So you're moving guys around quickly. The puck movement in the offensive zone was pretty good. And that play actually comes from that. It's good hard forecheck. It's good on the cycle game by that fourth line. It ends up with David Kampf over from the fucking half wall taking a shot. And Steven Lorentz tips that thing just off the inside that probably shouldn't have gone in, but finds its way in. And, this is a guy who's had a knack for scoring some pretty big goals in some of these games here, Max, tying goals, leading goals, securing a lead and holding that thing with two goal lead or more. Steven Lorentz has found ways to show up pretty big this year.
Lorentz has been one of my favorite players on this team since we picked him up.
Yep.
Because he just has that dog in him. He has that attitude, he has that work ethic, and he can still score. I can say it right now. I think he's going to be one of the guys in the playoff that gets one of those goals, that depth scoring that we've been desperately needing. That guy does not quit. And after that goal, I was looking at the bench, and there's a shot of him and Lawton just staring out, patting each other on the backs. And that look of those guys, the look of their faces, the cut of their jib, you know what I'm saying? That is what we need, the real grit, the real effort, the real desire to win. Now, I think that Tree Living has done a great job putting a team around the core. And I think JT is amazing right now, and Willie is amazing right now. I still think it's up to Matthews and Marner to just show up, Just really show up because the rest of the team is there. The rest of the team is there. Everybody's good. You got goaltending, you got defense, you got depth that can score. Everything is there. And I can't wait to see Patches back in the lineup too. I think, in my opinion, probably Yarncroke comes out. That if
Yeah.
you got to ask.
Hey, be careful on this show talking about Matthews and Marner having to show up and be ready to go in the playoffs. I mean, I did that last night, and I've just been getting absolutely abused in the comments since then. People are furious that I even brought that up and could potentially, suggest that anyone who's anyone that's making $13.5 million or $11 million has to be an impact player in the playoffs. So be careful, Max. Your DMs might start flooding with people who are angry.
I wish. You just got to embrace it. It's love. Even when they're saying mean things to you, they still love you. That's why they're typing it to you. So just embrace it.
Max, I appreciate you calling in. I agree with you there as well. Thank you for doing this tonight, as always. Hopefully I get to see you soon. Hopefully we get to do another Greta night soon. That would be fun, and we get to see you. Otherwise, enjoy the trip to Buffalo with KPG. That should be fun.
Yeah, sounds good. Shout out to KPG, aka Fazilla Moose, 6 1/3. All the other people I talk in chat. Talk to you later.
Thank you, Max, for calling in here. Appreciate it. There you go. Maxentius Decimus, one of the legends in the chat. A legend in from the super chats there as well, has kind of been with me basically since I pretty much started doing the show. So thank you, Max, for the continued support. Thanks for calling in to give us thoughts on the game here tonight. Let's wrap up with a couple more things. Let's start with our super chats here. I want to make sure that I get to and answer all of those. So let's see what we've got from you guys, because there's a couple more. So saying that what I'm not convinced of is their intensity in terms of willingness to play nasty. We've seen them get angry and be dominant, but so very, very rarely. Max, so saying I'm sorry, that's what I agree with. And that's kind of the point that I was making about them last night. I thought Matthews and Marner were unbelievable in the third period. My frustration was it took to the third period. And if they did what they did in the third period through the first two, this thing would have been no question. But, the first two periods to me were very reminiscent of playoffs past and what happens when things get tight. You're playing against a tough defensive matchup or a tough defensive forward or whatever. And it's like, oh, well, they can't score. Like, we can't blame them that, the other guys are really good at defense. Like, yeah, they are fucking good at defense. They deserve credit for that. But these guys make a lot of money here. Like, let's go. Let's get to it. Let's find ways to produce and generate offense. Like, it can't just be, oh, well, they're really good at defense, so we got to let them be. No, come on. Get going. So that was what I wanted to I wanted to just say, and I agree with you so saying them. Is like, you want to see it consistently. You want to see it pushing through. You want to see it a regular thing. Let's get ourselves to 100 likes. I see Joshua Disatel there saying we're at 90. Yeah, we're 10 away. If you haven't already liked the stream, make sure to hit that like button. Subscribe here to the channel, Leafs Nation 401, right here on YouTube. Another super chat. Dan Freeman. Did we get 5 out of 6 points in California, in the California trip? I'm confused what we are really complaining about here. Team is winning, lowest scoring games. Sweet. Yeah, they are. I think some of the complaints just come from more so up and down and, lacking consistency in like the style of play. Is there killer instinct? Is there not? That's kind of the stuff that I want to see regularly. I want to see happening on a daily basis. Like the thing that I look at and I just kind of have frustrations over myself is like, think about last night and the conversation about last night's game, or at least the conversation I had about last night's game. Matthews and Marner didn't really step up and do that until the third period, and that was kind of when they showed up in the game. How often can you turn on a Colorado game? And I don't know how many people watch a lot of other games around the league, but how many people often turn on a Colorado game and say, oh, wow, Nathan MacKinnon didn't look intense for 60 minutes. Like, He always looks like that to me. He always looks like he's going that way. Sidney Crosby, like, they look like they're going at that next gear, that next level, and they'll do it the entire time. They may not have their A game, that's fine, but they bring intensity and impact the game in another way. And a lot of times it just feels like if the Leafs big boys don't have their A game, they're cooked. Like, it feels like a lot of times if the Leafs big boys aren't showing up, aren't dominating offensively, they're going to have zero impact on the game. They kind of get snuffed out, and that's where a frustration starts to set in for myself and for other Leafs fans here, I think. You just want to see them with a killer instinct, a killer mentality from opening puck drop right to the final buzzer. They showed up in here tonight against Anaheim, and I thought that they were ready to go from the beginning of the game. I thought that they looked pretty good. I thought they had some dangerous opportunities. I thought both Matthews and Marner were very involved. That's what I want to see from these guys every night, no matter who your opponent is. You don't have to score 2-3 goals and get 5 points every night. You can walk away with nothing, no points, and still have a positive impact on the game. If you are an elite player, you should have that ability to do so. I just look at a Nathan MacKinnon, I look at his impact on a game night in, night out, and I look at that intensity and fire in his eyes, and I just want to make sure that these Leafs players are bringing that. You want them to have that every time they step on the ice. And I think that's why Leafs fans kind of get frustrated, especially on a California road trip like this, where, yeah, they got 5 of 6, and I'm happy with that, and I'm happy with them taking a step forward in the standings. Big picture, you're still looking to see if some of those other aspects of their game are filling in and they're buying into some of that stuff, because that's a better predictor of playoff success than anything else. And that's kind of what people are looking for. And I think why people come to the post-game show sometimes lose their mind in the chat. I think that's kind of just a theme that we see here with these guys over the last 8-9 years. 6 likes away from 100. Let's make sure we get up to that here tonight and close out the show with 100 likes. You only need 6 more, and there's well over 200 people watching right now, so 100 should be within range. Let's get out of here on our final segment of the night. We did our best bet. We did our play of the game. I want to get out of here with my grade of the game tonight. And our grade of the game segment is presented by Greta Bar YYZ. Greta Bar is an amazing spot before, during, and after games. It's a spot that I end up at frequently. Obviously, not so much when the Leafs are playing, unfortunately, just because doing the post-game show, but it's a spot I love to visit. I love to go there with my friends. I usually kick producer Vic's ass in whatever games that we're playing. They've got great street food. They've got unbelievable service in there. The menu is awesome. There's different spots that you can order from, go up to. It's just a very cool venue. Lots of space, lots of room. I love getting over to Greta Bar myself. I cannot wait to get back there for another Leafs watch along. Hopefully we can do some stuff in there in the playoffs as well. Weekly drink specials, fun games. Greta Bar YYZ, 590 King Street West. Greta Bar, let the games begin. Grade of the game tonight. People are pouring in with their grades. I want to know what you guys think about this one, and we did hit that 100 likes. Let's keep it going. Keep pushing up on the 100 likes. But our grade of the game presented by Greta. Tonight's grade of the game for me, I think context of this one, I probably get to A-. I'm closer to a B+ probably, actually. So I think I'm going to slot in at the B+. Good game from Joseph Woll. I thought he looked good. You dominated the faceoff dot, which was nice to see. 60% in the faceoff. Well, every time you had any chance in there, and anytime he was in the defensive zone or an ice or whatever, it's you just kind of weren't panicked. You were taking control of the dot. You have 3 for 4 on the penalty kill. The one that you gave up comes off of the Morgan Rielly tripping penalty. I believe that was the ensuing goal that was scored by Anaheim there. The one thing that I kind of noticed with the Leafs penalty kill and when they get in trouble is when they stop being aggressive, right? Maybe they're just trying to kind of hide some of their tools and their systems and their setup here right now so that they don't give too much away as you go to the playoffs. But if you see them putting pressure on the opposing power play. You see them jumping out, trying to take time and space away quickly. You see them trying to just eliminate any room for the opponents to move the puck and be able to think and move things around. That's when they seem to have their most success. There are times, and it happened a couple of times here tonight against Anaheim, where it seems like they slow down and they kind of just keeps them to the outside by standing there. That feels to me when they get like lackadaisical and the opposition is able to take advantage of them. I hope that in the playoffs, they play that intense get-in-your-face style of penalty kill. Opposition loves doing that to Toronto, and the Leafs power play often wilts in the playoffs. Do that to other teams. Take their time and space away. But, I mean, otherwise, pretty decent night from them. 0 for 2 on the power play. I don't think they look terrible, but, I mean, again, it's like I don't think they looked unreal either. 0 for 2. Other box score stuff here just to take a look at. 22 blocked shots from the Maple Leafs tonight. You had 4 takeaways, 16 giveaways on the other side for the Anaheim Ducks there as well. I don't know. I think this is an okay game. It was kind of boring. It was kind of sloppy at times, but you found your way through it. You got a bounce-back performance from your goaltender, Joseph Woll, who ends up finishing tonight's game with a .935 save percentage. He let in 2 goals on 31 shots. All in all, successful. 5 of 6 here tonight. This was a successful road trip, all in all. Take 3-point lead over the Florida Panthers. Thursday night was frustrating, but you get the win against LA last night. You go in on the second night of the back-to-back. You got a regulation win here. You get yourself 3 points up on Tampa and Florida. It's a good feeling. That's all for that. If you did enjoy this, make sure to hit that like button still. We did hit 100 likes here on the show. Let's like the stream, subscribe to the channel, Leafs Nation 401. Thank you, everyone who liked. Here are the smelling salts for those who did. There you go. That feels like legit getting chlorine from a fresh pool blasted up your nose. Anyways, thank you guys for watching. That's all for me here tonight. You guys won't see me back until Wednesday for another game preview right here on this channel. We will have a game preview. We will have a post-game show for the Leafs Nation after dark following the Leafs game against the Florida Panthers on Wednesday night. This has been game number 74 of the Toronto Maple Leafs regular season, defeating the Anaheim Ducks here tonight 3-2, moving to 3 points ahead of the Florida Panthers and Tampa Bay Lightning for first place in the Atlantic Division here tonight. Thank you, everyone, for watching. Hit that like button. Subscribe to the channel. Thank you guys, as always. I'll see you on Wednesday. Until then, keep believing. For more content just like this, including game previews, post-game live shows, Leafs Morning Take, Monday through Friday with Nick Alberga and Jay Rosehill with special guests, as well as instant reaction videos. Make sure to be subscribed here to the Leafs Nation YouTube channel. Turn on notifications